Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga. President William Ruto has left the country for Germany and later France for a business visit. State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed says the trip is focused on bolstering economic ties with Germany, France and the EU. Hussein adds that it will also advocate for strong global consensus on climate action ahead of COP28. While in Bomet County, the president hinted about the visit that starts today, saying that it's a continuation of strategies to find jobs for Kenyans in foreign countries.
Nimekuwa Saudi Arabia last week. Huyu waziri wangu amekuwa pale kwa balozi wa Saudi Arabia kwa sababu kuna vile tulikubaliana. Rais wa Ujerumani alikuwa Kenya karibu miezi 3-4 iliyopita. Leo usiku mimi naenda Ujerumani kwa sababu alituahidi ya kwamba tutapata nafasi ya ajira watu 200,000. Lazima niende nipange hiyo kazi.
Despite being repeatedly criticized, the president has continued to defend his visits, stressing that they are of great benefit to the nation.
Mimi nikitoka Kenya, mimi siendi kazi ya utalii. Mimi naenda kazi ya wananchi wa Kenya. Kwa sababu najua nimechaguliwa kwa kazi gani.
Last week, government spokesman Isaac Mwaura listed the benefits of the president's visit, saying they've reached about 2 trillion shillings through various funding, credit and investment agreements. At least 10,271 households with approximately 70,000 people have been affected by the 3-day torrential rains in 6 counties of the Coast Region. Coast Regional Commissioner Rhoda Onyancha said Tana River County is the most affected after floods displaced 5,100 families. Director of the Kenya Meteorological Department, David Gikungu, has called on residents to heed calls by the government to move to higher grounds.
We are talking about moving to other places where the rainfall is not as heavy. Of course, people know the places that are prone to flooding. Unfortunately, the northeastern parts of Kenya are a part of that relatively flat land where when it rains there is nowhere that the water can run to, just keeps rising, and it's been dangerous, taken a lot of livestock and endangered lives also, human lives. So if it is possible to evacuate the people that are trapped in there, that would really be the way to go.
The most affected areas of Mombasa include Bamburi, Kiembeni, Junda and Utange in Kisauni constituency, as well as Likoni, Nyali and Changamwe constituencies. The 7 comes as the El Nino rains death toll has hit 61 as 80,518 households have been affected countrywide. The bodies of 2 KRA officials who drowned after their vehicle was swept away by floods have been retrieved. KRA Corporate Support Services Commissioner Nancy Ngetich says the 2 were travelling to Mombasa from Lunga Lunga on Friday morning when the accident happened. KRA Acting Southern Region Coordinator Lawrence Yele, on his part, said the vehicle was swept by floods at Ramisi River after the bridge was actually flooded. A clan of hyenas killed a 10-year-old boy in Waititi area, Kiambu County, the latest in a series of attacks that has terrorized the area. Residents live in fear and rarely move out of their houses in the evenings, late at night and early morning for fear of the marauding animals. Residents have pledged to work in groups and kill the animals, but the Kenya Wildlife Service wardens pledged to drive the animals away and find a workable solution. And finally, the family of the missing Ethiopian national Samson Tekla Michael has called on the Kenyan government to help them trace their loved one. The family, joined by friends and human rights activists, held a peaceful march in Kileleshwa at spot where he was abducted to mark 2 years since he was kidnapped by unknown people. Haki Africa has hit out at the DCI for taking the family around in circles in their quest for answers. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It wants tax. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin there, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, no, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We just heard on the floor of parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning and welcome to Monday. The streets are slippery and the rain is still coming down in quite a number of parts of the country. But let's see what the roads look like in spite of all of that. All right, we're seeing some movement on Juja Road coming past the Makadara train station, and it will get a little busier as we get through into Monday morning. On the Thika Superhighway, not much happening. Well, cars are moving, vehicles are getting into the city, and we didn't see any hold up, at least not for now. It's still early, but that is likely to pick up. Coming in from Muthaiga, traffic is already starting to move. It's already busy coming out of Westlands. And if we look on Mombasa Road, heading out to the city, movement, quite some of it, as you get towards Uhuru Highway. Just past Capital Centre, as you approach the Nairobi Stadium roundabout, you'll see some of that coming in from Lusaka Road. But we're going to watch and see how it opens up as we get closer towards Monday morning madness. Spice FM KE on X. Let's talk there as we keep things moving this Monday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
10 minutes after
the
6.
Only way.
Good morning. Welcome to Monday, the 20th day of November 2023. Mambo vipi? Mambo iko sawa? Ndu?
Good morning. How are you? Good to see you. Karibu sana. Inakuwa muziki. Hivyo.
Toto. Like that. Bwana Muga?
Yes, Bwana Eric.
Vipi lakini?
Mimi iko mzima sana. Na wewe je?
Mimi niko sawa kabisa.
Mambo iko bambam.
Sina kiwewe. Kabisa kabisa.
Well done. Hata sisi iko.
Hey. Mvua ile inanyesha hii Kenya.
Uliona maajabu sio?
Welelelelele. My friend, that rain is proper.
I'm telling you.
I was in Mombasa, Pwani, in Mombasa, and it was raining non-stop, literally non-stop. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, non-stop. So when you see those floods like that in Kisumu and other parts of Mombasa,
don't joke.
Wow. That is a lot of water. It's a lot of water. Heavy rainfall. Yes. It's also raining in other parts of the country, like you've seen. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. Otherwise, mambo ikoje?
Tuko salama tu.
Very good.
Ndio na mvua, tax. Kila kitu inapanda lakini yuna.
Mafuta ijapanda bwana.
Hii mwezi sawa basi.
Na tumepanga kuanzia mwezi ujao inaanza kushuka. Na hiyo mwezi ingine inaendelea kushuka. Tumeongelesha hata wale watu. Tumewaambia wakinini tutawaweka hapa. Ndio hiyo mambo ya bei tuzungumze.
Tukuja pamoja.
Tutashukisha.
Tutafanya hivyo. Tunashukuru Mungu.
I thought the phrase was na Mungu ni nani?
I'm telling you.
Pia hiyo. Pia hiyo iko. Pia hiyo iko. Welcome everybody. It's good to be back. I had a good week. I'll tell you more about it later. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. Kenya Industrialization Conference is being hosted by the Ministry of MITI, Investment, Trade and Industry. Okay?
Not the Pandamiti people.
Not the Pandamiti people.
The other meeting.
The other meeting. And the Principal Secretary for Industry is Dr. Juma Mukhwana. He will be joining us at 7 a.m. to talk about industrialization and that conference that they're hosting. And then at 8 o'clock, this heavy rainfall that we are witnessing, how can we take advantage of these rains? Is it actually possible now to actually start harvesting this rain? The way it is. Oh, yeah. Anyway, we will be joined by Engineer Leonard Ithao. Engineer Ithao is the district governor at the Rotary International District 19212. It's called what? How do they call it? 19212. 19212.
That one for 1912. That one 1912.
19212. Basically, it's the the Rotary International District that covers Kenya, where Tanzania, Uganda, all the way Ethiopia,
East Africa and the Horn.
So he'll be joining us at 8 a.m. for that conversation. And then at 9 o'clock, we talk about youth, leadership and democracy, the Africa that the young people would like to see. We'll be joined by the patron of the Africa Youth Leadership You Lead Summit that's taking place in Nairobi from today. He is the former president of the United Republic of Tanzania, His Excellency Dr. Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. He'll be here with us at 9 a.m. to talk about democracy, the youth, and what he's doing with the youth. You are Panambaya?
Panambaya roll.
Sindio? Not a roll.
Not a roll.
Very good. Tell us about the weather.
I'll do that.
We're live streaming the show as usual on YouTube and Facebook. Wherever you are tuned in, let's hear from you. Say hello to us, Eric, Ndu, CT, and Edna. We'll be acknowledging your presence shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, 17 degrees. We'll see highs of 22 and lows of 15. It's partly cloudy at 16 in Nakuru with highs of 21. 21 will also be the high in a partly cloudy Nyeri. Currently at 16. Let's take a look into Mombasa, where it's partly cloudy at 24. The rain will come down this morning, going to highs of 30 through Monday, and we'll see highs of 31 in a mostly cloudy Malindi at 26. All right, looking into Kisumu this morning, it is mostly cloudy at 21 with highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 25 in a mostly cloudy Kakamega at 18. Out in Kampala, it's cloudy at 20, highs of 26, and sunny conditions for now, clear at 24. In Dar es Salaam, going to highs of 30. Into Johannesburg, it's cloudy at 18, highs of 29, and Mogadishu is mostly cloudy at 26 with highs of 31. We're looking into a partly cloudy Addis Ababa at 11 with highs of 24, and Lagos is cloudy at 26 with highs of 32. 31 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 24. And looking into a sunny Beijing at 10 degrees Monday afternoon, it'll go to highs of 14 and lows of 1. Paris is cloudy at 10, going to highs of 13. And London is cloudy at 10 as well, going to highs of 12. Sunday night is clear at 9 in New York. Coming into Monday, highs of 14 and lows of 1.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Watu wengi, the government spokesman took off during a presser. Instead of doing a presser, in Malawi, took off, we say, idanyamuka. Siti say idanyamuka.
Aliamka.
Aliamka kweli, aliamka na kaenda. Indeed, that is what happened. Don Sabwa, if you're wondering, says good morning. Evans Nyangano says good morning, Spice, tuned in from Dadaab.
Malawi is that country where the bishop has said he will not be traveling.
No traveling. In fact, I myself have taken it upon myself to stay at home. There's work to do here.
I will not be going for COP28. And anybody who's away should come back.
Any cop.
Any cop.
Good.
Tunataka pesa kufanya kitu kingine, please.
Hana pesa. Mtumie fare.
Tunaweza kumfanyia rambe chapter.
Ndio ende cop.
That we can do for him.
He's not going. Evans Tabo says good morning to all of you. Francis Wangoi says good morning, wise people tuned in from Karatina after planting trees in Kereita over the weekend. Okay, Sir George Gashoiri says Ndu City, Eric and Edna, good morning. Agri Momanyi, Pana Agri, why are you like this now? He says International Toilets Day coincides with International Men's Day. City, we're on our own. Why now?
No, we are not on our own. We have the toilets.
It's up to us to see how best we can utilize the toilet.
I think there's some who are already doing that, but all right. Dr. Venvik says good morning, tuned in. Hope Eric is back. He is back. Good morning, tuned in from Nairobi. And that's Vesh Musanga. Tuned in from Yala is Dev this morning. Toti Bishop says Ruto has ended his 5-day visit to Kenya. Sorry, that's actually quite funny.
Okay.
See if boy,
that's hilarious. To be honest, I haven't even finished the rest of the statement.
Finish.
That's funny.
Finish the
He said he's traveling to Germany to secure 200,000 jobs for Kenyans. We welcome you again. Hey, Toti, you've made my money. Jennifer Etenyi says, good morning, Spice. Keep warm. I'm telling you, it's necessary. The president's 5-day visit to Kenya. Exactly. It's true. Monica Sleeve says, good morning. Tuned in. Sylvester Dowd says, good morning, all. Alex Omogi is right here, he says. Doctor is reminding us that he's tuned in from Tude, Mombasa. and he's wanting... City, you need a hug for Men's Day. Emmanuel Opige says, good morning, listening from Kampala. It's drizzling and chilly, but we thank God. Indeed, we do. The 2000 says, good morning. Kenyans want to develop Kenya. Why is Ruto selling us to the Germans? Owen Bosire says, do we ever learn from these floods? It's a good question. Alex Nye says, good morning. I missed your show. The weekend was too long. We are here, Mama. Good morning, great people. Salamu zifike Nyaboke. Nyaboke. Bas. Amekunya mkono. Mkono. James Sekanto is tuning from Kerara Pond and says, good morning. El Nino Siutani. What is that? El Nino Siutani. Okay. Oyaore
Utani is a joke. El Nino is not a joke.
Oh, okay. It's not a joke. Mpoke Salamu from the Lake region. Sawa. Linus Rainman says, good morning. Tuned in from Munshin. Siku njema watu wangu, and keep up with the amazing job. Thank you very much. Joel Adondi is also tuned in this morning and says, this is the best way to end my day in Kansas. It's getting colder here, but the Situation Room warms it up. Good morning, everybody. Bosire floods are illegal and man-made. Oh, he's telling somebody else. That's Brian. Okay. Robin Sabogo is tuning from Mombasa. Love from Laredo in Texas. Merry Christmas. Esfan has decided, look, of all the things we can say, let's just tell you Merry Christmas and let's keep it moving. Eric, were you rained on in Mombasa?
Sana.
I'm very sorry. Maureen Muthaura says, good morning from Manila. Full house today, still reminding you to summon the president. Your best place to interview him. We shall do that. Adam says, good morning, Spice. Anne Gore is tuned in from Nonetheless, the beautiful hills of Saboti. A silent follower, my voice, says, Diggs, good to have you in. Good morning, CT. Eric missed you, and Ndu, I'm sending you love and hugs. Alar, thank you very much. I am in receivership. In receipt. Thank you. Good morning, listening from the Carolinas. Usually I play the recorded version on my morning commute and pretend it's live. Love to hang with the sage, the polyglot, and the mchokozi. Now, from those three, you people can choose which one you are. Okay?
Surely.
The sage, the polyglot, and the mchokozi. Chagua nila? Chagua nilako.
Jesus.
Good morning. Welcome back, Eric. Good morning, Eric.
Why is it that none of those things, they don't sound very positive to me. Okay,
just choose. Norman Wambogo says, tuning from Naivasha, looking forward to great conversations. And Wairimo, we see you. And you says, why is the president on the way to Germany while Mombasa is drowning? Okay. Good morning, Douglas Kibongo. PK is tuned in. Esther is also here. David is listening in from Bahrain. Willis Koyi says, good morning. The president should visit the victims before going to Germany. Well, it's a bit too late because the fella is already gone. Good morning, everybody. Good to have you here for sure this Monday.
Yes, City.
Yes, please.
Where to this week?
Namibia.
Okay.
Tuesday week on Namibia. This is one of the most sparsely populated countries in the world.
1 person per 1,000 square kilometers.
Actually, literally. They're not doing that badly, but they're close to it. Consider that they have a population of around 2.8 million people, okay? And they are 1.4 times the size of Kenya.
They're bigger than Kenya.
Bigger than Kenya. Almost 1.5 times bigger than Kenya.
And the population is?
2.8 million.
Okay.
Which means the population of Nairobi is twice the population. If you take the population of Nairobi as being 5 million, it's about twice the population of the entire country. Now, if you look at the country of Kenya, if we take our population at say 53 million, and you do the maths and see. So, yeah.
So who occupies those pieces of land? Animals?
They're beebles.
Cows?
People.
Lots of land.
Lots of desert.
Plus, there's also the part where,
Oh, they have some very good land. Big land, but it's an interesting country. As with the week does its thing, we'll be talking more about how it is the Germans came there, the Germans left, then the South Africans took over, and what it is that they've had to do over time, and where they're at right now. But an interesting country. Doing some peacekeeping mission. We also had our stint of peacekeeping there, and our Kenya Armed Forces left more than reputation. Yes, left progeny.
Okay.
Yes.
Na bado tujajaza inchi.
Bado. Our efforts are not even a dent.
Aye, surely.
Right. When a man who has been tossed by a buffalo. No, let me start again. A man who has been tossed by a buffalo once.
A what?
A man who has been tossed by a buffalo once. Okay? When he sees a black ox, he thinks it's another buffalo. Okay, let me put it in terminology that is easy to understand. Unajua buffalo? Okay. How they go about setting the record straight, they charge at you, and they have horns, which look like a fancy head. If you look at the horns, the way it sort of like comes out, okay? Look like a fairly fancy head with this 1960s.
I'm just happy with your movements this morning, man.
So, lo and behold, when it arrives at the exact point where it finds you, it won't run over you. It'll bend down and then toss you. Bulls do the same thing, by the way. Yes. They use their horns and they toss you. Now, I think the rest is clear. A man who has once been tossed by a buffalo, when he sees a black ox, thinks it's another buffalo.
Okay.
Yes.
Kenya has a similar one. It's about snakes.
We do.
Edna's just said it. Aliyeuma na nyoka akiona ongongo hushtuka.
Yes, if they see a slug, not snail, centipede, millipede.
Ukiona tu hiyo, unajua pass. Here it is. It's back.
And it's to bite me.
Oi. Okay. Headlines, tafadhali.
All right, on the front page of the Standard this morning, Ruto scores on terror but fails in graft war. From success in keeping terrorists out of the cities in his zero reference to March demonstration deaths, President William Ruto's first State of the National Security Report was a mixed bag of fortunes. We're looking at a number of things here. We'll come to that. He also said, I'd rather talks fail than shelve housing projects. Okay?
Okay.
So he still wants to go ahead with that. You people can talk as much as you want. Former President Uhuru Kenyatta then made an appearance yesterday in Mwingi, and he said, you'll form the next government. He's told Azimio leaders this, and he says they have a big chance to form the next government in 2027. But let's look at a picture which probably should take the most of the attention at the moment, and probably should have been looked at earlier on. 12 dead in floods and as relief efforts begin. And there's a picture of what's going on in Kisumu in Mombasa, and people having to wade literally through the water. There's an old Negro spiritual, wade through the water, wade in the water. This has been happening quite a lot in the last couple of days. And the thing is that it is continuing. It's likely to continue as the rains keep coming down. We've not yet reached the peak of the rains. According to Kenya and World Met, it's going to continue for some time. Relief efforts begin. What is going to happen? The 2 KRA agents who went missing also have been identified. They were found alongside a border operator. El Nino, bodies of KRA staffers recovered amid flooding havoc. That's on the front page of The Nation this morning. After record taxes, state eyes fees and fines. On The Nation, President William Ruto's administration has now turned its focus on fees and fines paid to state agencies for various services as the government targets an additional 112 billion in non-tax revenue to supplement tax revenues in the current financial year. The government expects various state departments to collect a record 431 billion in appropriation in aid of fees and fines and levies this year, explaining that despite adjustments on charges for various services offered by the state. So they have about 7 months to go to collect that kind of money. Uhuru also tells Ruto, leave me out of your mess, man. People have been calling my name up and down anyhow, that because of me, that's why you're doing... No, stop it. Get my name out your mouth.
He's innocent, isn't he?
That's what he said. Get my name out your mouth. Look at the ticker headlines. A bane of teenage pregnancies weighs down on Kandui sub-county in Bungoma County. Bears the ignominy of having the highest rates of teenage pregnancies in Western region. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's a serious matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Business Daily. I tell you.
Tell us.
Airtel, Telcom and Jamii gang up to force 29% call tariff cut. The communications regulator has cut the rates telcos charge consumers of a rival network by 29% days after 3 mobile companies ganged up against Safaricom to push for the review, setting the stage for a drop in calling rates from next March. The Communications Authority on Friday said Kenyan consumers will enjoy lower calling rates after its reviews of mobile termination rates and fixed termination rates. In the review, the authority has capped the MTR and FTRs at 41 cents per minute from 58 cents with effect from March 1st, 2024. And here they have the photos of the 3 CEOs and MDs. Mugo Kibati is the CEO at Telkom Kenya. This thing still exists.
What?
Yes, it does.
Kenya?
Okay.
Telkom, Eco.
Joshua Chepkwony is the CEO of JTL, is the chairman of JTL, Jamii Telkom. And Ashish Malhotra is the Airtel Kenya MD. Higher, other headline. Supreme Court hands Coca-Cola final blow in 8 billion shilling bottles row. Giant soft drink manufacturer Coca-Cola is staring at an 8 billion shilling bill to design and produce new glass bottles after failing to convince the Supreme Court to suspend a decision requiring the company to include nutritional and customer care details on soda bottles. Lazima mutuambie.
Even on the glass.
Iko hapo lazima mutuambie.
Yeah.
You tell us it contains cabbage, carrot. Coca-Cola Kenya's bottlers, the Nairobi.
I thought you were going to
nutritional information.
Yeah. Actually, they should.
Yeah. They had argued that 6 months for complying with the High Court judgment would impede its competitive advantage and also permanently cripple the business and affect ability to pay more than 3,000 workers. But the soft drink firm has suffered a setback after a bench of 5 judges of the top court struck out its second appeal, seeking to overturn the judgment for filing the case out of time. As in, technicality is what has knocked them out. That's it.
Who was their lawyer?
The bottler rushed to the Apex Court after its appeal was dismissed by the Court of Appeal in July. Nairobi Bottlers Limited wanted to overturn a 2018 decision of the High Tandepage Court requiring it to include nutritional information and customer care details on soda bottles.
Bottles, glass bottles, or all bottles?
Soda bottles.
Okay. Including the plastic, the
bottles.
PET. Yeah.
Or bottles, as long as it contains Coca-Cola products. You must tell us. City?
Yes. You know, I still don't really understand what the beef was about, because is that not a reasonable requirement? Should someone not know what they're consuming?
Absolutely, they should.
I mean, that really is it. It boils down to that, is it? Tell us it has 3% zinc, 2% potassium, 1% cyanide. Or, I mean, whatever it is that tell us.
Yeah.
As we're consuming, so we know. Okay? I mean, this myth that every cupful of some sort of
has how much
sugar,
what
demystify it and tell us.
Put it there.
It's not true. It's not 4 spoons of sugar. It's 5 cups of sugar. That sort of thing, so that we know.
I see you. Agreed.
Right.
City, tell us about the star.
Politics of fuel. Right. Top right-hand corner in Till Green. Ruto to Raila. Stop telling lies on the G2G oil deal with Saudi Arabia. That's the story on page 7.
Okay.
Okay.
G2G here being what? Gangster to gangster.
Yeah, that I think you put it well.
Oh, yeah.
I have this suspicion that they are referring to government.
Oh.
Perhaps.
Now here, it's one of these situations where even as you say government, you may need to define government.
Okay.
Right? Yes. And once you define it, then everything seems hanky-dory.
Okay.
Right. Why Cairo scientists... No, sorry, not Cairo. It's Cairo. Sorry.
You did not.
It looks like an I beside an L.
Okay.
Why Cairo scientists wants to eat neglected weed? The lady by the name of Dr. Njoki Mitugo, on nutritional scale...
Wants to eat?
Neglected weed. The neglected weed is called blackjack. Yes, according to her...
It's nutritional value.
Yes, I'm going to... This one I have to tell you.
Voila.
That one is a
May
good one. You'll tell us.
Please, yeah.
Not now.
Not now.
Tell us another
I will tell you later.
Yes.
All right. Hyena's maul boy, a 10 at village in Juja. friends escaped. Hyenas are in Juja, just so that you know.
This is the same Juja that had hippo the other day.
Yes,
Juja
in
that
the
had
middle of the
hippo.
road. Remember? In a pothole.
Same Juja. Right. Then bang in the middle of the paper, dreadlock. Odinga team wants housing levy scrapped or made voluntary. Okay? Make or break as Ruto Raila talks enter final stretch. As Mio coalition.
So their solution to the cost of living is housing levy.
To remove it?
No. This is one of the things they have said.
Oh, well.
It's not the only one.
What else have they said?
I will tell you later.
Okay.
Yes.
Sawa.
As the Mio coalition demands VAT and other taxes on fuel to be cut at least 8%. That's part of the other that I'm telling you.
Okay.
But there are others also which I will also tell you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. 25 to 7. Tell us about traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
So we see a little bit more Super Highway, and then we get to the traffic. That's just at that Pangani underpass. You're coming in from Kiambu Road. Some of that, as you get then towards Muthaiga Square, is going to hold up for you a little bit. As you're coming in from Second Parklands, First Parklands, Wambuga Road on Limuru Road, it's also going to pack up a little bit. It's coming in from Muthaiga, United Nations Avenue, in from Limuru Road, up there near the village market. It's flowing smoothly. But as you get down towards the junction, Wangari Maathai, it's going to slow down. There's also traffic coming out of Westlands. We're going to watch out for that and see. As you're coming up Rafter Road, then towards Westlands proper, there's some traffic there as well. We're starting to see movement on Kangunda Road. And when I say movement, I mean traffic. And so that is slowing down some. We'll take a look at North Airport Road going from Cabanas through towards Outer Ring. In a bit, we know that's going to pack up. If you've not left that area, you might want to do that now because we're seeing the trickle of traffic coming in on the Eastern Bypass. And one to watch for this morning. Everybody getting into the CBD hot and heavy as the rain still keep coming down. Let's keep an eye on things and see how they open up this Monday morning. And we'll talk on Spice FM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
You tell us about that Blackjack story.
Yes, I will.
Okay. Ndu.
Yes.
Tell us first.
The bodies of 2 KRA employees and border rider recovered. We're looking at still the rains compounding down in different parts of the country. Wow. It's not a pretty picture. And, it would look as though, so it rained for 3 days consecutively in many parts of the country. If you look at the eastern part, then going towards the coast. But then we also saw in the western part where the rain kept coming down, and also in parts of northern Kenya. So the rains come, it creates this, but the interesting thing here is that it doesn't stop, right? It keeps coming. And before you get any relief or reprieve, it starts again. So the 2 bodies of the Kenya Revenue Authority employees whose vehicle was swept away by raging waters on Friday have been recovered alongside that of a border rider, as coast leaders declared the flooding in the region a humanitarian crisis. Heavy rains had been pounding the coast for the past week, causing massive destruction of property and loss of lives, as well as rendering hundreds of families homeless. The Kwale County Commissioner Michael Meru said a multi-agency team led by the Kenya Coast Guard Service found the 3 bodies yesterday morning. Internal Security Principal Secretary Raymond Nomolo yesterday revealed the identities of the KRA employees. We have established from Lunga one-stop border post that the occupants in the Land Cruiser vehicle were Joram Maina, Lunga Border Management Committee Chairperson, and David Nganga, according to Mr. Omolo. The 2 were driving from Lunga on the Likoni-Lunga Highway in Kwale Friday evening when their vehicle was swept away. The vehicle was recovered on Saturday by the rescue team. And on behalf of the Border Control and Coordination Committee, our thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends at this difficult time. Kwale Governor Fatuma Chani declared a humanitarian crisis in the county, calling on well-wishers to assist with food supplies and cash. County spokesperson Nikki Gitonga said data from all ward administrators revealed 7 lives had been lost as the rains continued to pound the county while hundreds of homes had been destroyed. According to this, 5,000 people have been affected directly and indirectly, and the governor is pleading for help from well-wishers. And they said that 10 out of the 20 wards in the county had been affected. This include Vanga, Ramisi, Simba, Golini, Kasemeni, Mvawumbo, McKinnon Road, and Ukunda wards. So it's wreaking havoc. It doesn't look good. Because you then ask the question in terms of looking for shelter, where are people going to go? We're also talking about rescue efforts starting in earnest today. We're also looking at a picture here of Cabinet Secretary Penina Malonza walking through floodwaters in Kiwegu in Lunga Kwale County yesterday. She told Kenyans to brace themselves for more El Nino rains. According to other sources, 2,000 families are being supported against 11,000 affected, a number that we were told is going to grow as the situation is only going to get worse because it's going to keep raining. And we're looking at places where it's flatland, right?
Yeah.
Flatland, the water has nowhere to hold. And so it goes and dips into areas where homes have been built and they cannot live. Look, the pictures that we saw last week were terrible. People having to literally swim, to get where they were going.
And it's in many parts of the country.
Yes, it is.
So I see the Standard has a story about a statement by the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. He says the DP is calling on governors to allocate and release funds to complement the national government's efforts in addressing the challenges posed by El Nino. Simultaneously, he's appealing to development partners to enhance their financial, technical, and logistical support to reduce and mitigate the impacts of the ongoing heavy rains. He's challenging county leaders to clear waterways and other drainage systems, emphasizing the importance of ensuring people living in low-lying and landslide-prone areas relocate to safe grounds following the advice of the Met Department. In a statement, Gachagua said, "This situation continues to threaten lives. I wish to take this opportunity to inform the nation that multi-agency teams drawn from government agencies, county governments and partners are responding in various ways to mitigate the negative impact of El Nino. The country has experienced enhanced rains over the last few days, and the number of counties facing El Nino has risen from 19 to 33, with others on high alert. 33 counties are affected. The most severely affected counties so far: Mombasa, Garissa, Tana River, Makueni, Marsabit, Kilifi, Kwale, Meru, Isiolo, Turkana, Samburu, Wajir, Homa Bay, Busia. Nationwide, over 80,000 households have been adversely affected, either displaced or stranded in their homes, with these numbers steadily increasing. Reports of fatalities and missing persons are also rising. The Deputy President says the government has allocated funds for repairing destroyed infrastructure, deployed helicopters for joint rescue missions and marooned families, distributed food and non-food items, provided medical supplies, and ensured the security of affected victims." Are you aware?
No, I'm not.
Where is this happening?
In Kenya.
Which part? Okay.
In this part,
Rescue efforts and
in the country.
mitigation measures. Okay. Where?
Helicopters, food items have been distributed. Evacuation by national, county, and partners.
No.
The last time we heard of a helicopter was when people of Lower Downs were actually rescuing people who had been caught in a storm.
Somewhere in Samburu, was it?
Yes, that one. But beyond that, unless we are being told we are reporting incorrectly and that we haven't had all the details and we've missed out on the food supplies and these other helicopters.
Yeah.
But if we haven't missed it out, then I haven't heard of anything of that sort. What I've seen is people are running around chasing their tails and wondering what to do.
Yeah.
That is what I have witnessed.
The photos we see are just people stranded. You don't see photos of people being rescued.
No.
You hear statements from the leaders of these areas. The governor of Mombasa County came out the other day and said, we haven't received we're not receiving support from the national government. The governor of Kwale, through the spokesperson, is saying,
We are looking for cash and food donations.
The
We have
leaders
nothing.
of Northeastern Province, led by the senator of Mandera County, who's a former governor of Mandera County, is saying, we are looking for support.
What are we talking about?
So who is the one telling us the support has been provided for?
Surely, if 11,000 people in one county, which you already know is sparsely populated, right?
That's a large number.
11,000 is a huge number. Now, if we're told that these individuals are displaced, these, of course, individuals making up, I'm sorry, it's not individuals, it's 11,000 families.
Yeah.
If these groups of people have been displaced, surely if they've been reallocated space and shelter, we would have heard about it as well.
Yeah, we need to be seeing.
Come on. No. And do you know what? It's always easy for us to point fingers and lay blame. But we remember very clearly that the talk of El Nino rains began at the end of August. The rains came in late October. So for 2 months, what were we told? That counties had received, and we even had the CEO of the EACC telling counties, you know what, let's not hear that any of this money that had been given to you, let it not go towards any, if it goes to any kind of corruption, we will be on your necks. So what happened there?
Okay, what
was it for? Did it truly come from national government? If Abdul Swamad is now telling us that in Mombasa, they've actually not received anything. If Achani in Kwale is telling us, actually, you know what, we've not received anything, and we look at high levels of those being affected in the manner in which they are, then what happened?
Can we just begin with Nairobi? We know of the plans that had been laid out. The governor himself spoke about it. Here we are. How have those many young people who had been employed or engaged, how have they been deployed?
The governor of Nairobi, Johnson Sakaja, says his administration, through various interventions, has managed to save approximately 2 billion shillings. The county undertook community sensitization, sanitation, and public health improvement works in the informal settlements to guard against the disease outbreaks. Looking back, we estimate that our El Nino Rapid Response Marshall Plan has saved the county government and the national government more than 2 billion shillings. Sakaja said.
Has saved the county the money?
Yeah, money that could have been spent now to respond to disease outbreaks and all because of the interventions that they took.
So there's no disease?
The disease outbreak isn't now.
It's not today.
Man, it's not it's raining now and disease
loud.
comes jumping out today. What's he talking about, man?
It rains today and then there's cholera tomorrow.
No, it doesn't work like that. It never does.
What are we talking about?
No, has that thing been reported correctly?
It's verbatim.
It's a quote.
What on earth is Sakaja talking about?
He's talking about the efforts that they've made.
Some efforts were clearly spoken of. There's no question about it. We heard about it.
They have cleared, there was community sensitization, there was sanitation and public health improvements in the slums of Nairobi.
Was there?
Okay. An audit will be done. He has said so. Let's take him at his word, shall we?
Yeah.
As we are talking, the rain is still raining, no?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We will. He has said so. We will take him at his word.
Okay.
We know all the slums of Nairobi. We will be asking. We will be told. We will go physically. We will see. So, this is definitely a looking thing. We will see. He's right.
Not
right here.
The garbage.
No, it's all right.
They said they'll remove
Yes.
by Tuesday 3 weeks ago.
This road, see where they said the gutters and the storm drainage has been done. There's so much grass growing on that thing. You actually wonder whether the gutter is immediately under that grass or whatever it is. But anyway, whatever they said they will do, we will see.
It's a looking thing.
It's a looking thing. We shall see.
Tukule mishege.
Tukule hivyo. This scientist by the name of Njoki Bitugo introduces an interesting concept. What she calls is food colonization.
Okay.
So you see, if you look at the classifications of food, specifically vegetables, one of the things that the colonialists did, they classified most of what we called our vegetables weeds.
In fact, there's one famous traditional that's actually something weed. It's called what?
My friend, there are many. There's blackjack, there's stinging nettle, dandelion. There's a wandering Jew.
All those are weeds.
All these are weeds.
We need to remove
yes,
them.
yes. And yet, everything that I mentioned here
as a food,
not only a food. If you compare it with, say, unajua lettuce. Lettuce. The one which is a relative of cabbage. Unajua that one? Cabbage. Cabbage.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, that is a foreign vegetable. But in terms of the food nutrition, if you're talking about magnesium, iron, and zinc, which is what the body needs, the other foods that I had mentioned, which are classified as weeds, have 80% each almost. In them, you get 80% zinc. So, meaning in terms of food nutrition, these are seriously nutritious foods. Seriously nutritious foods. Now, it says, when you have a situation where the very things that grew naturally here and were eaten and were considered healthy have been removed, do you then wonder that you have children suffering from food deficiency and what have you?
You can't wonder.
Because the foods that we ate, we consider things that you should cut off and burn and not necessarily harvest and eat. That really is the gist of our conversation.
Right.
He's saying, we need to grow these things and we need to go back to them, because sooner rather than later, you will come across somebody who's going to patented something that is indigenously ours.
Absolutely.
And then we may be forced to pay to actually plant what is ours and what they got from us,
Very
but simply
true.
because they painted it.
Very
Patented it. That one, you've understood?
I've got it.
But there was this story of the hyena that mauled the boy. The boy actually died.
Oh, yeah.
10-year-old boy, mother's a doctor. She and he and his 3 friends were hanging out. The hyenas charged. The other 3 ran. He was killed. They just found bits and pieces of his body. Now, Kenya Wildlife Services, according to what I'm reading here, said they're going to find a way of ensuring that those animals aren't there. I almost tore the paper in 2.
Aren't where?
I mean, I was thinking, am I misreading this thing?
Read the story.
Okay. Residents have pledged. A clan of hyenas killed a 10-year-old boy in Waitithie area, Juja, Kiambu County. The latest in a series of attacks that have terrorized the area. Okay? Residents live in fear and rarely move out of their houses in the evenings, late at night or early morning for fear of the marauding animals. They also keep their children out of school for fear of the hyenas. Note. Residents have pledged to work in groups and kill the animals, but KWS wardens pledged to drive the animals away and find a workable solution. The remains of the boy were recovered on Sunday morning. The other bits are a bit gory, so I will not go into them. But the police visited the scene and recovered the mutilated body parts left behind by the animals. The boy was not identified. Okay? Kenya Wildlife Service personnel visited the area and promised to hunt down the hyenas and drive them back into the wild. The pack is believed to have strayed from the nearby Oldonyo Sabuk Game Reserve, where they usually roam. Such attacks are common in the area. Last year in September, a 9-year-old boy was mauled to death by a pack of hyenas. Now, how a statement that they will drive them back is supposed to appease the residents of this area is what I don't understand. Look, if children are already being kept away from school, it wasn't because it happened in a day.
Yep.
These animals had been sighted, parents were being cautious.
Yep.
Did they need to have a situation where a young boy was killed for them to now start talking about driving away? Meaning all this time they had not seen the need to actually look for these hyenas. And secondly, these wild animals, I'm told there's a census, so we know where they are and how many there are.
Yeah.
If they escape from where they are and it's reported, should they not act immediately? Or are they also going to tell us that they're underfunded?
Yeah.
No, that's a big one, though. Because where Waitithie is...
outside Thika Town.
Yeah.
Yes. It's outside
And
Thika
so you
Town.
can imagine that these ones are maybe crossing over all the way from Kilimambogo National Park.
Think about it, yes.
What's it called?
No, not Nino.
It's not called Kilimambogo National. It's from Kilimambogo.
It
There's
is
a
from the
national park
Kilimambogo.
there.
Yes, I'm trying to remember the name and it escaped, but I know what you're talking about.
It's coming and going.
But it's not around the corner.
It isn't.
No.
It's far. By the time they're crossing all the way and coming to Waitithie,
they have been seen.
They
were noticed and I'm sure they were reported.
Well, you know that question that you asked, you don't want to say yes to the answer, but that's the case. That usually until something horrid happens is when now we start to take action. The warning signs will even come right up and slap us in the face. But usually, unfortunately, it takes a tragedy to occur for some kind of action to be taken. And one would hope that it didn't get to that point, that you take the warning signals. Because look across the board. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about hyenas. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about floods. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about a leaking airport. You wait until the very worst has happened before you act.
Actually,
and that's a problem.
Eric, you don't know how right you are, because remember, an 8-year-old boy had been mauled to death in September.
Yeah.
A 35-year-old man from a neighboring Athi village, okay, had been attacked by hyena. Okay, earlier on, 2 more people had been attacked by hyenas in the same Waitedi area. Now, surely, how many more people did they need to be attacked by hyenas for them to understand this is a problem? Now, people have said they're killing the hyenas. They're saying, no, don't kill the hyenas. Let's wait until we can find an amicable solution.
Let's talk to them first.
Dialogue.
The dialogue with the hyenas.
Let's form a committee.
Let's find out how they feel about this situation.
The hyenas already have a committee. And it's the committee that's been attacking people.
Yeah.
Now, let's also form a committee.
Nonsense.
Bollocks.
Michael is reminding us it's the Oldonyo Sabuk National Park that's near there.
Okay.
Let me tell you about, there's a story here that's a bit, In 2009, Julia Njoki realized that a title deed to a land her deceased husband owned was missing and reported the matter to the police. Later, she realized that her son was the one who stole the document.
Oh dear.
Njoki said the land in Bahati, Nakuru County was initially registered in the name of her husband, Samson Kebiru Kabitu. She later learned that her son, Michael Kabutu Samson, had stolen the title deed and transferred the property to his name before guaranteeing a loan facility to Charles Kimani Wangoi. Michael was arrested and convicted on his plea of guilty in 2013 and sentenced to 1 year in jail. Njoki said that she later learned that the land had been advertised for sale, but the move aborted. The planned sale prompted her to file a suit at the Environment and Lands Court in Nakuru. In the suit, she stated that she was in the process of losing the only home that she had ever known. She wanted the court to issue an order cancelling the title deed in the name of her son and a permanent order barring the sale of the land. She named Cooperative Bank, Luka Kabiri, and Wangoi as respondents. Njoki said the bank had asked her to vacate the suit property on grounds that it did not belong to her and was served with 2 documents, including a 45-day redemption notice dated November 6, 2014, and a copy of the advertisement for sale by Legacy Auctioneers. She said her son passed on upon his release from jail in 2020. He died. The son, she said, acquired the title fraudulently after the death of his father. Therefore, no valid charge could be registered on the title. In its response, Cooperative Bank revealed that in 2011, Kimani took 2 loans, $500,000 and $1.5 million, guaranteed by Michael, who offered the title for Bahati Gabatini Block 12679 as collateral. The bank said before advancing the loan, it conducted due diligence and confirmed that the suit property was registered in the name of Michael. According to the bank, Kimani defaulted in repaying the loan, and the bank decided to exercise its statutory power of sale through Legacy Auctioneers. Now, Justice Mwangi Njoroge, in his judgment, has faulted the bank for not conducting due diligence beyond a search at the land registry.
Yeah. The due diligence which they said they had actually conducted
had not been conducted.
This is what the judge said. While it's manifest that the real registered owner of the suit land is deceased and the imposter who purported to charge the land as owner lacked any confirmed grant of letters of administration or any documentation that showed he had otherwise legally acquired the title in the name, then the defender is deemed as an intermeddler. Basically, the bank has been told you should have dug deeper and found out that this guy had stolen the title deed. Now, how do you know? If you go just do a direct search in this land registry.
Problem is, this is Kenya. And by the time 2 respondents work for the bank are being named, there's a reason why.
Okay. For sure. For sure.
Yes, this is the problem. Due diligence.
Where?
Are you forgetting that people who have been evicted and their houses brought down had also done due diligence? Though their due diligence was on the certificate. Remember that one? Share certificate.
On this one, though, how this guy was able to get the title deed and transfer it to his name without the mother noticing,
let's start the
raises questions.
It does.
But you as the bank, by the time the guy is bringing the title deed to you and you check, you see, he's a current owner. Previous owner, father. What more due diligence do you want me to do?
For goodness sake.
I don't know what the bank is being accused of doing here, by the way.
They are not doing due diligence.
Yeah.
What other thing were you meant to assume?
You've just been told. Do you understand what due diligence means?
It's 7 a.m. Time for the news.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga. President William Ruto has left the country for Germany and later France for a business visit. State House spokesman Hussein Mohammed says the trip is focused on bolstering economic ties with Germany, France and the EU. Hussein adds that it will also advocate for strong global consensus on climate action ahead of COP28. While in Bomet County, the president hinted about the visit that started today, saying that it's a continuation of strategies to find jobs for Kenyans in foreign countries.
Nimekuwa Saudi Arabia last week. Huyu waziri wangu amekuwa pale kwa balozi wa Saudi Arabia kwa sababu kuna vile tulikubaliana. Rais wa Ujerumani alikuwa Kenya karibu miezi 3-4 iliyopita. Leo usiku mimi naenda Ujerumani kwa sababu alituahidi ya kwamba tutapata nafasi ya ajira watu 200,000. Lazima niende nipange hiyo kazi.
Despite being repeatedly criticized, the president has continued to defend his visits, stressing that they are of great benefit to the nation.
Mimi nikitoka Kenya, mimi siendi kazi ya utalii. Mimi naenda kazi ya wananchi wa Kenya. Kwa sababu najua nimechaguliwa kwa kazi gani.
Last week, government spokesman Isaac Maure listed the benefits of the president's visits, saying they have reached about 2 trillion shillings through various funding, credit and investment agreements. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has asked leaders in the ruling Kenya Kwanza coalition to cease from engaging in politics of succession and instead focus on serving the people. Gachagua said he is focused on assisting President William Ruto to rebuild the economy and has no desire to be dragged into 2032 succession politics.
Naona wengine watu wetu wamepotea wanaongea mambo ya uchaguzi ya 2032. Those are people who are lost. We are only 1 year in office. How can you discuss 2032? Even 2027 is a premature debate. Si ndio? Mimi sitaki mtu anihusishe kwa hiyo debate ya 32 na nini. I am busy. We have no time to engage into useless and productive debates about 2032. Is premature, is unnecessary, is a misadventure.
Gachagua's statement comes just a few days after some UDA members claimed that he won't succeed Ruto. At least 12 lives have been lost and thousands of families displaced as heavy rains continue to hit western and Nyanza regions. Elsewhere in the coast region, at least 10,271 households with approximately 70,000 people have been affected by the 3-day torrential rains in 6 counties of the coast region. Coast Regional Commissioner Rhoda Onyancha said Tana River County is the most affected after floods displaced 5,100 families. Director of the Kenya Meteorological Department David Gikungu has called on residents to heed calls by the government to move to higher grounds.
We are talking about moving to other places where the rainfall is not as heavy. Of course, people know the places that are prone to flooding. Unfortunately, the northeastern parts of Kenya are a part of that relatively flat land where when it rains, there is nowhere that the water can run to, just keeps rising, and it's been dangerous, taken a lot of livestock and endangered lives also, human lives. So if it is possible to evacuate the people that are trapped in there, that would really be the way to go.
With 2 days left for the National Dialogue Committee to present their report, Speaker of the Senate, Amason Kingi, has urged leaders involved in the talks to put the interest of Kenyans first. Kingi said that emotional exchanges and grandstanding among the leaders across the political divide was uncalled for. This event comes as the committee is yet to agree on a number of factors, including the high cost of living, and has called on Treasury CS Njuguna Ndungu to intervene on the matter, as he may also said that if the matter isn't addressed, then they'll be forced to go back to the streets and hold protests. And in the international scene, far-right libertarian outsider Javier Milei has won Argentina's presidential runoff poll according to provisional results. Mr. Milei's rival economy minister Sergio Massa called him to concede. Former US President Donald Trump congratulated Milei on his victory. The election comes at a difficult time for Argentina, with rising inflation and an economy in crisis on people's minds. That's the Newswire. I'm Leo Ubaga.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
It's busy on the Juga Road this morning, getting out towards Landis as you touch on the City Stadium roundabout junction. So that's busy. Uhuru Highway is also quite a thing right about now, and we're looking at traffic on Mombasa Road heading out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Okay, you coming off the Thika Superhighway? That's heavy in from Kasarani Mweki Road, and then even beyond that, Githurai, heavy traffic. It's bumper to bumper. The service lanes are working in some areas, so you want to think about using those at least to make way through towards the city. As you then get to that junction that splits towards Muranga Road or then going towards Wangari Maathai, you should be all right because it's not building up too great there. It's busy on Limuru Road. That's going to be busy for most parts of the morning. We can already see it now. And we're also looking at traffic then coming in from Gong Road. It's trickling in through towards the city. It's going to touch on Valley Road in one direction and then go down Gong Road through towards Haile Selassie in the other. So Monday morning traffic has begun and we're looking at it busy as the rain comes down still. We'll keep an eye on things. Let us know what's going on where you are so we can try to keep things moving, and we'll talk on Spice FM KE.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7. How are you doing? Welcome to Monday. It's the 20th day of November 2023. Kenya's biggest conversation enters the second hour live on KTN Home now, in addition to being live on Spice FM and YouTube and Facebook. How many draws have been conducted now? We're still conducting draws every week.
Yes, we are.
How many winners every week for Kiwi?
4 winners every week, winning 35,000 shillings that goes towards school fees come January 2024. So you ask yourself, what must I do? Okay, in order for you to step up and shine, you walk into any supermarket today, pick up a tin of Kiwi with the new logo design, specifically that. All right? Then you'll see a starburst on your tin. And then you're going to take up your phone and you're going to dial *459 *5 hash. All right? Under the lid as well is a code. You're going to input that code when you do your dialing, and you'll win instant airtime or data. So great. Christmas comes early. Use that. But at the same time, you then get entered into a draw. And we're looking at 4 people winning 35,000 shillings every week. It's a fantastic thing. It'll put a big dent in your debt for school fees. So it's something you want to do. Step up and shine with Kiwi.
Indeed it is. So let's talk about industrializing the country. We know that there's a target of hitting what percentage by what year? It's 20 by 30. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. It's hitting 20% of contribution of industrialization to the GDP by the year 2030. Okay? Moving it from 7.5% or thereabouts. That is a big one. The person who is carrying this load on his back is Dr. Juma Mukwana. He's the Principal Secretary for Industry in the Ministry of MITI, the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. He's our guest today. Good morning, PS.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Muga, Ndu. I'm happy to be back.
Good morning.
Good to have you back here. How's the kazi going?
Yes, tunachapa.
Yeah.
It is coming up well.
Very good.
Quite hectic, but we are managing.
Very good.
Many plans, many ideas coming from different directions. Yeah.
We'll be talking shortly about the Kenya Industrialization conference. But to welcome you to this conversation, CT has the day's proverb. CT, you said this week's proverbs are from?
Namibia.
Namibia. The country whose population is half the population of Nairobi.
Yes.
And the landmass of that country is 1.5 times the size of Kenya.
1.4 times the size of Kenya. So essentially, the population of Nairobi can go and live in Namibia and there'll be some to spare.
Where?
Well, if you look at our population, take the view that our population is 53, 54 million. By comparison, we are seriously densely
populated. These guys are 2.1 million?
0.8.
So it's one person per county.
Something like that.
Well, maybe a little bit more, but okay.
The name Namibia is an antonym derived from the Namib Desert. A good portion of the land is actually desert. The proverb, a man who has once been tossed by a buffalo, when he sees a black ox, thinks it's another buffalo.
A man who has once been tossed by a buffalo, when he sees a black ox, thinks it's another buffalo.
What they don't say, then he sprints for dear life.
Dr. Mugwana, what do you think they're saying with this proverb?
I think that what is being said here is history is important. That, along the journey of life, you will meet many people, you'll meet many ideas, you'll meet many situations, and it's good to learn from them. That kind of future decision making is based on your past experience. So it's good when you are making a decision today to put it in perspective, in historical context, to say, okay, am I doing this for the first time? Has it been done before? Did it succeed? How should I do it better? I guess that's the way I would look at it.
Take the lessons from the past. Take your failures and victories from the past to inform your future.
Yes, take your lessons and run. Yeah.
Actually, Eric, I like the bit you've mentioned. The wins and the losses. You see, we take the view that the losses are probably the better teachers because of the harsh conditions they sometimes force us to endure and to understand. But I would argue that when circumstances favor you well is when you should be most careful. Because when there's a turn, it often leaves you fairly stranded if you hadn't planned for it, because we tend to suck up to the good times and tell ourselves that it'll be there forever, and it really is.
Yeah.
It's there for a season and it will come to an end. Now, what then when it comes to an end, what happens to you?
Yeah.
Then you'll feel like you've been tossed by a buffalo.
Bus. Are you applying some of the past mistakes and lessons in your journey towards 20 by 30?
Yes, we have looked very closely, and we are even working. Part of this conference is part of the bigger picture that we are trying to develop. We're actually working on an industrialization strategy. And we have looked at, yes, what has happened in the past. We've had very ambitious plans and programs and activities. These have been applied with mixed results, obviously. We are trying to pick the bigger lessons and see how this can inform our future planning. But also, we are not so that we are not spending too much time in the planning room. We are really planning and moving at the same time. So as you know, we already had, when this government was coming into power, the Kenya Kwanza, there was already a plan on manufacturing. So part of it is we pick it from there, but also we are, quite laying the foundation. You won't believe it that 60 years down the line after independence, we still do not have anything like an Industrialization Act in this country. So we are working on that. So we are working on an industrialization policy, which we don't have, and an industrialization bill, and we are also working on an industrialization strategy in that space. And because you see, if you really can't put your ideas into a formalized strategic way, because we can't do everything, we must prioritize. The resources are limited. And so for you to do that, you need a very clear analysis of what is the situation in the past, what are the efforts that have been tried, what worked, what didn't work, and going forward, because you have limited human financial resources, what are your priorities? And that is very, very important. So we are working on those 3 documents, and that's why this is also the first ever industrialization conference. You can't believe it in this country.
What is an industrialization conference?
This is a forum, a platform where we are bringing together the players in this sector. And remember, this sector has nearly 13 different sectors. So you have all this automotive, agro-processing, you have textile, you have leather. So we are bringing all these people together to say, you are the people who are doing industry, who are manufacturing in this country. What have you learned? So as government, we are not pretending to know the answers that are there. But definitely, if somebody like Rao here in Athi River has been doing leather for his father was doing it, he's doing it, they have been doing it for over 50 years, they definitely know. If you talk to Defki with Bitco, he knows what needs to happen. He has been in that space for quite a while. So I think this conference is really opening up that conversation space to say, okay, as government, we often sometimes talk to ourselves. Sometimes we have very beautiful documents that are not informed by reality. So the purpose of this conference really is to learn from the best, to bring the people that are in that space, that have been playing in that space, to say, okay, we have some ideas, but you know better because you are the one who is actually doing it. How could we do it differently? So the purpose of this conference is really, we are bringing together manufacturers, policymakers, academicians, and we also have a bit of international people coming in from China, from Japan, India, to say, okay, how did India do it and how did China do it? So the purpose of this meeting is to, first of all, raise some noise around the industry. Quite often, when people are talking about cost of living, Eric, it's very easy to say, okay, the cost of living is very high. But remember, if you are consuming what you are not producing, it does not matter how long. So part of...
You have no control.
You have no control. So manufacturing is what really produces what you eat. And as a country, we can almost say that we are consuming other people's products a lot more than we are consuming our own. So if you are not producing, it does not matter how much discussion you have about that space. If you can produce, you eat what you produce, you export what you produce, then we can start to discuss even the issues of how do you bring down the cost of living, because you're exporting, you're bringing in dollars, you're creating employment. If you manufacture more here, as I said the last time I was here, every time you import, you export jobs. And so then if you import too much and then you're discussing about cost of living, it's like you're actually contradicting yourself.
That's true.
Yep.
You mentioned something I think it's very important here. You talk about a strategy and a plan, and that it's going to take some time to put this together. And I think, what's the time frame that has been given for this strategy? Because there seems that there's a lot of pressure to reach a particular number in a very short period of time. If we're talking about 20 by 30, whereby you have the percentage currently at 7.5%, and the dream or the aspiration is to get to 20% in the next 6 years, and we're currently still at planning stage. How do you see this playing out in terms of timelines?
We are actually planning and working at the same time. So we have not hung our boots, so we say we are now planning. But I also want to say that coming from that space, I do appreciate that if you really want to make a difference in industrialization, it takes time. If you want to do, if you start planning to put up a factory to mill maize, you will not be in production in the next 3 years. Remember, by the time you get the land, you bring the machinery, you install that machinery, you test run, you get your raw materials. Installing a factory will take you 2 to 3 years. So this is a long-term thing. So it's not something that you can stop and say, okay, now I've stopped, I'm thinking, I'm planning. What we are saying is that we have several things that we can do. One is we already have those factories that are manufacturing, and that's why we are bringing them together. And we are saying, what are you doing? Are you operating some of these factories? And I've visited. You find they're operating at 30%, 20% capacity.
Why?
Because of different challenges, either raw materials or the market is not there, or so they have different challenges. So the issue would be to say, for those that are existing, how do we take you to 100%? And that is the easier part. And part of it is, for example, last week I think I visited a factory in Kibos, in Kisumu. This factory was put up about 5 years ago to make industrial sugar. So somebody spent nearly 2 billion shillings, put up a factory, and this factory is supposed to be producing industrial sugar. Industrial sugar is what you use to sweeten soda, juices, even it's used also in alcohol and so on. But it is not working. If it worked, it would be employing nearly 2,000 people. Why is it not working? Because they require raw sugar to make industrial sugar, and there's enough demand in Kenya. We are importing completely, almost 100%. Actually, not almost. We are importing 100% of industrial sugar, and the region is also looking for this sugar. But there is no raw material.
No sugarcane?
No sugar. Okay. The raw sugar that we have, what we are producing in Mumias, in Chemelil, is raw sugar. So they need that. But there isn't enough of that. You see, the raw sugar is what we are using for tea, to our coffee, and the demand is much higher. So for you to use that as a raw material, it's not there.
Yeah.
And so then we said, but why are we not importing? Because then for him to survive is to import raw sugar and turn it into industrial sugar. But then I think in the past there have been fears that said, okay, if this guy brings in raw sugar, how would you stop him from dumping it as raw sugar instead of using for industrial purpose? Because the demand for raw sugar is so high anyway. So you can see that it is something that if you really sat down with all the regulators, it is something that you can resolve in a week. Because this is a factory, we are all the way going to Dubai looking for investors. You have an investor here that has already done the investment, but we can't figure it out. I think he got a license to import for like 1 or 2 years when he started. And then at some point, I think because of the controls and the issues that we have around sugar, he didn't get a license. So the factory is there.
So the factory is basically not operating?
Not operating because he has no raw material. That is so. And another example that I would use, and this is how, for example, if you look at our alcohol industry, it uses a lot of ethanol. Ethanol is made from molasses, and we are part of the ESC. And so we produce some molasses in this country, which we can use. It's not enough for us. But what happens? Then there is very good demand across the borders. In Uganda, in Tanzania, they're paying dollars, they pay even more. So you find, although the law is very clear on how to sell this, a lot of our molasses then ends up in the neighboring countries. And then the factories that we have here have no capacity then to make enough of that ethanol. Even when we know that the demand for ethanol is so high that we really have to import. So those are the kind of issues that we are looking at.
So we shoot ourselves in the foot all the time?
They say that the market forces are quite dynamic. And
it's another way of saying we shoot ourselves in the foot.
No. I'm not going this way. The market forces for each of these products is quite dynamic. And so you need a deep dive. What I have seen is what we've done now with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers is that nearly on every week, we deep dive into each sector. So last week we had a meeting on the sugar area. So you and all those dynamics came up. So you find that each product has a completely different scenario. Let me give you an example of cotton. We have not been growing cotton in this country, so we import our.
No. We stopped growing cotton.
Yes.
And since then, we have not been growing enough cotton.
Now, this year, last year we grew a little bit of cotton. This year, we went out full blast, and we are growing nearly 40,000 acres of cotton in different counties, in Busia, in Bungoma, in Siaya, in Vihiga, in Homa Bay. So what happened? Then we came up with the people who buy the cotton, and we got a lot of seed, and we distributed this seed free of charge to the farmers. Homa Bay is doing the best cotton this year. I've been out there with Governor Gladys Wanga. We are doing very good in Siaya. But then now the cotton is ready. Then we find, so the cotton in Homa Bay has no ginnery. Okay.
What happened to the ginneries that used to be there?
They are old, they abandoned. So the first problem we've had now is that we discover then that, now how are we going to gin this? And that's the problem.
What do you mean
I'm sorry, PS, I'm sorry.
No.
But by the time we're looking at 40, if I may ask, and I think it also links to the plan and strategy question.
Yes.
Because if we saw a period of time, for example, where cotton was not being grown for 1, 2, 3 reasons.
Yes.
And then entering into a phase where we say up to 40,000 acres of cotton, that's a pretty sum of cotton. But then to ask the question, after harvest, how we are going to gin this cotton.
Yes, remember.
As opposed to having a plan beforehand, knowing full well that a ginnery was out of operation.
Yes, you remember our approach is that the ginnery should be established and run by the private sector.
Yes.
So when we started this, of course, we brought some private sector people in, and now it's an egg and a chick situation. So when we asked the private sector to do a ginnery, they said, but you want us to do a ginnery, where's the cotton? So grow the cotton first. So now we've grown the cotton, we created a problem. As we say now, the good news is that the county government of Homa Bay, for example, has now allocated 5 acres to a private sector that is doing a ginnery. Lamu has done the same. In fact, the ginnery in Lamu is now being installed. In Busia, the government did a ginnery there that is now working, that although the capacity is a little low. But so the ginning was part of it. The other issue, of course, has been because we abandoned this crop for a long time. Seed supply has not always been good. So we've mixed idea of you can make your own seed, and we have also imported seed that some of it may end up being very expensive. And the last issue then that we are figuring out now this week is the price. Because the seed was given and the chemicals were given, what price do you buy? So when we agreed with a lot of this seed was also being given by the private sector, people that are interested in buying the cotton. And then we said, so as we buy the cotton back, there will be a way in which you will subtract some money for the seed that you are given. But then that created a different problem. Why? Because in Busia, we wanted to buy this seed, for example, at 52 shillings a kilo. Right across in Uganda, somebody was buying it for 70 shillings. And so we have had to a quick meeting, and then we have agreed that even if we gave the seed, we really can't, because the
you
farmers
can't sell below 72.
Yes, so that's why we've put now we've put it at 72, and that's why I'm saying that each of these sectors really requires constant thinking. If there's no blanket, and there's nothing like I decided this last year, it works this year, but so we have
continuous learning
and very quick adjustment. For you to, because then what was going to end up happening is that all our cotton was going to go to Uganda.
after supplying the seed and supporting the farmer.
I mean, it can be quite tricky.
You know, I live in the sugar belt.
Yes.
One of the sugar belts. And so the story of sugar is something I'm intimately familiar with.
Yes.
You see, by the time people like Ibos were coming into being, other sugar factories in that very, very same locality had shut down. Miwani.
Yes.
Don't have in mind. Sugar in that whole area as a business, one grew up seeing it, how it flourished and how it is. People benefited from it. And one also sees how farmers lost interest in growing sugar. So even the raw material that is required for those factories, that's before I get into the upgrading of the factory so that they can actually do what it is that you're saying. That over the years, the market forces you spoke of, I think we'll refer to them at this point, none of that was done. So we are having a conversation about an industry that has lagged, God knows what, 2 to 3 decades. It's out of date. If you look at, say, our neighbors, Sudan, Canaan, and their sugar factory, and the way they handle their business, if we look at other countries, we look at Brazil and other places where they've been doing this sort of business for a long time and how they approach it. See, I like the fact that the Ministry of Industry is having a say in it. I like the fact that they're looking at it from the perspective of industry. That gives it a nice business touch, as opposed to agriculture, where it would just be a crop that people are growing and we're looking for it as a cash crop. But then, if the farmer does not see the benefit of what we are speaking about, we may invest in the value addition process that we are speaking of, but then we'll have this simple problem of not having the raw materials for it.
Actually, very, very complex. I've been talking to Kenya Association of Manufacturers. One of the areas that we've not done very well, not just for sugar, in this country, is that we have not managed the producers of raw materials very well. We have exploited. You see what's happening in the coffee space with the deputy president. So how have we done it? Industrialists occasionally behave like they're very clever, but in the end, we all end up in a very foolish place. Why? I come from a sugarcane growing area. When I was growing sugarcane, I got a ton of cane was going for 2,000 shillings. And even when this sugar was harvested, it took 6 months to pay. And now, do you know what the price of sugar is today? If you grew a ton of sugar today, it's 5,500, and there's no sugar. So I asked Cam, and this is even maize. When you grow maize in a good year, when you harvest, a bag of maize comes down 1,500 or 2,000. But this is the same miller 3 months ago that was buying a bag of maize for 6,000.
Yes.
So and I said, this is a cat and mouse situation. There is no way you as an industrialist is going to behave clever with the farmers. If you don't pay the right price, if they're not making money so that they can invest in that industry, they will abandon it. When they abandon it, the cost of raw material will go up. So at the end of the day, it makes business sense for us to say, what is the production cost of maize? If it's 4,000 shillings, then we should make sure that the farmer gets that so that he can invest next year. And if we don't do that, what the farmer does is they abandon the crop. And then, so the same miller who was buying at 2,000, taking 6 months to pay, this time if you go to Kibos, they pay you before the harvest.
Yes.
And there is a competition because we abandoned the farmer. The few that have remained have become gold. So a ton of sugar today is 5. In fact, AFA has closed down harvesting because we were harvesting premature cane. So what I have said is our industrialization must go hand in hand with sustainable raw material production. And sustainable raw material production means that we respect, we care about the farmer and what they're doing. On the sugar issue, so that I just finish it. If you go to a supermarket today, every household has sugar this morning. So we have never had a problem with consumption of sugar. The challenge that we've had here, when I look at the other situations of Mauritius and Brazil and Mexico and South Africa and Mozambique and Eswatini, our issue has been mostly management. Why do I say this? The model that we had before is we developed a factory like Mumias Sugar. It was a government institution, but the government appreciated that we don't have the management capacity that we needed. So what did we do? So we went out and brought experts. This is how Buka Ted came in. And Buka only had 3 people, the MD, the technical manager, and the finance manager. And then the rest of the team, 5,000 of them, were Africans. But these people have been growing. So they did the management, and we paid them a small commission for running the factory for us. Okay, at some point, their contract ended. And we said, no.
We can do this.
It is time for Muga to run. And so... So, what did we do?
Muga came.
So, Muga came. And where we are today is the problem of Muga. Because sugar has never had an issue.
It is Muga.
It's Muga who has an issue. And so, we're being very bold. If you have listened, we've done a bit of that deep dive, and we have agreed that that model worked for us. We have experts that can run this. So part of the revival, if you've listened to the president saying, is that we are not selling the factories, but we are saying let's professionalize its management. So there will be upgrading of the factories, but there will also be, let's go back, because that model, I grew up in the Mias Sugar. The most proud man in the village was a man who worked for Mias Sugar, because he earned his salary, he drove a car, he had a nice house. We know it. So kind of...
If it works.
It worked. And it's not like we don't have demand for sugar. The fact that demand is always growing.
Yes.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Continue the conversation shortly. 25 to 8. Dr. Juma Mukwana is the Principal Secretary for Industry in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. He's our guest this morning talking about the Kenya Industrialization Conference. It's beginning today. It goes on until Wednesday. That's the discussion that we're having. Back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of Spice FM.
You play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice FM.
Looking for that perfect Christmas gift? Look no further than Tease the Season. This year, we have a pop-up Christmas market at the Junction Rooftop on Saturday, December 9th and Sunday, December 10th from noon to 5 p.m. The best part? Entry is absolutely free. There will be plenty of fantastic vendors to help you start your Christmas shopping, as well as fun activities for the kids and performances from your favorite Tease the Season artists all day long. Don't forget, the main show starts at 7 p.m, so be sure to purchase your tickets at ticketsasa.com. So, what are you waiting for? Make your plan and let's dive into the
cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 22 and lows of 15 through Monday. Partly sunny at 16 in Nakuru, going to highs of 21, and we'll see highs of 21 as well in a partly sunny Nyeri at 17. Eldoret is at 15 degrees. We'll see highs of 22, and we're looking into a partly sunny Mombasa for the rains come at 25, highs of 30, and Malindi will go to highs of 31, where it's mostly cloudy this morning at 25. In Kisumu, it's cloudy at 20, highs of 27, and we're looking at partly cloudy conditions at 19. In Kakamega with highs of 25. Kampala is cloudy, the rains will come, going to highs of 26 and lows of 19, while Dar es Salaam is partly sunny at 24 with highs of 30. Into a sunny Mogadishu at 26, highs of 31, and Addis Ababa is sunny at 14 with highs of 24. 32 will be the high in a partly cloudy Lagos at 23, and Johannesburg is cloudy at 18, going to highs of 29 and lows of 17. It's mostly cloudy at 24 in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 24.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Quite some traffic on Magadi Road this morning. Some of that will spill towards Langata Road, but we'll not see most of that traffic on Langata Road until you get to that junction, going then towards Raila Odinga Way, and the rest of it through towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. It's busy on Gong Road, and we're also looking at heavy traffic on Jago Road this morning, spilling through towards Landis and out towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. That means that Haile Selassie will have quite some traffic in and outbound this morning. The Thika Superhighway is giving today, and it's heavy traffic bumper to bumper all the way through from Githurai out towards that Pangani Underpass junction and then out towards Moranga Road. So that is heavy. If you've not left, I know you're stuck in it, but some patience is what you're going to need to salt and pepper your morning with. We're also looking at traffic on Kiambu Road. Heavy as you get towards Muthaiga Square. Limuru Road, heavy traffic. Westlands coming off of James Gishuru is also busy right about now, and it's going to continue. We're getting into traffic hour proper right about at this hour. So we'll keep an eye on things. Let us know what's going on where you are this morning. Let's talk Spice Traffic on Spice FM, KE on X.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
The conversation continues with Dr. Juma Mukhwana, the Principal Secretary for Industry. He's our guest this morning. The Industrialization Conference is our agenda. So it's all about looking at the ideas that need to be put together as you're working towards, like you said, having an industrialization policy, a strategy, and an industrialization act eventually. What's the journey to that?
Thank you. And so the journey really has begun. So we've done quite a bit of background work in terms of looking at, as I've said, you can see that you cannot have one suit that fits all. So we are doing what we are calling deep dives into each sector, whether it's textile, we look at the issues. Why do we have a lot of livestock? We have a lot of hides and skins that we are throwing away, and then importing shoes and importing leather and other things. So we've looked at very, very clear things, and you will see, like, if you go to the leather sector, then we have come up with very strategic areas. For example, we are putting up a whole industrial park that will be dedicated to the leather. It's calling it Kenani. This project has been ongoing for the last nearly 10 years. That's told. But it was 95.
It was built on swampy ground, flooded.
So we're now working on it. It didn't have an effluent treatment. All that is being completed within the next 3 months. That will be complete, and then we'll have a whole ecosystem where you can do tanning, you can do machining, you can do design and production of leather products. So in terms of the general principles that we are looking at. So we are looking at an industrialization policy that will guide our way going forward over the next 10 years. We are looking at the bill, again, that will bring in really manage some of the issues, because what we see that some of the things that we do require a little bit of legal intervention, like what I've just said. How do you manage people who produce raw materials? I know somebody else will call them farmers, but for me, those are actually business people that are producing raw material to feed into industry. So the areas that we are looking at, one is competitiveness, and we need to agree that we have not been very competitive in the region in terms of power, in terms of other aspects, and so we are looking at that whole space of how do we make ourselves competitive in terms of the power, the taxation. So there's quite a bit of work, and there's a team that's working, and this week, I think this Wednesday, we are making that the team will be meeting with the National Treasury and the KRA, and so that we work out some kind of sustainable taxation mechanism, and how do you create incentives for manufacturing. The other area, so that I move very quickly, is and of course then we also have our special economic zones, and in that area we have very good power. We have already gazetted 10 US cents per kilowatt hour. We have also said if you manufacture within the special economic zone, you have a tax holiday for 10 years. But we are saying, how do we make those benefits more widespread, even for people who are manufacturing outside the special economic zones? The other issue is industrial spaces. That's what we realized, and I said this last time I was here, that if you really want to go into industry today, it has been very expensive. You buy land in Mlolongo, it is very expensive. Then you realize you're buying land that was sold to somebody else, so you are in court for 5 years. Instead of constructing the factory, you are actually going around in circles. So part of this industrial spaces is what we have provided within the special economic zone. And you know that when we came in, when His Excellency the President, William Ruto, came in, we had 2 special economic zones in Dongo Kundu and Naivasha, and we had the export promotion zone in River. Since then, he has gazetted another extra 5 in Sagana, in Del Monde, in Egerton University, in Eldoret, and Busia. So we are growing the industrial space, and a lot of that space already tenders have gone out. So construction of the industrial sheds is going on. So part of it is to provide you with a place where you plug and play. And I think that in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll have a lot of space. And you already know about the county aggregation and industrial parks, where we're also constructing nearly 10 acres of an industrial area in each county. And the counties that have excess land have also accepted that if you now want to do a factory, they can give you free land as part of their competitiveness, 20 acres, 10 acres in Kajiado or in Machakos, where if you really want to do a factory that will employ people from that area. The other issue is on the raw material, we have 2 issues. We are being very strategic to say that those raw materials that we may not be able to be competitive because the factory will be located here. We need to have duty-free import of raw material. Like the factory, I gave you an example of Kibos. There is no way you are going to have enough raw sugar in Kenya for you to feed into an industrial sugar production system, because even the sugar we need for our table is already being imported anyway. And although we are doing a lot of reforms within that sector, it will take time. So what we are saying, for targeted factories where we know that the raw material may be an issue, that this should be allowed so they do duty-free, as we promote selected raw materials that we have a competitive advantage. So we're not just saying, because sometimes if you're not competitive, if your raw material is very expensive, then you can't compete. So you'll not be able to produce competitively. So we are saying for raw materials that we can be competitive. Maize, we can produce. You know what we've done for wheat, for example. What we tell the wheat millers is, for you to import, you must mop up all the wheat. So usually once the farmers produce, we give the first priority to the local millers, to the local farmers. The millers have to mop up all the wheat that has been produced. And then once they have done that, they are given import permits to import wheat for manufacturing. And so if we treated each commodity, so what we would like to do is to have a very, very systematic look at each of the raw materials that we need and say, what do you do for sugar? And what do you do for leather as a raw material? Because if the raw material system is not working, the factories won't run, because then either they are not competitive, the raw material is either not available, or it's too expensive, or if it's too cheap, then the farmers abandon it. So it's a balance that somebody has to really find. The other issue is, of course, I talked about Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. That part of the challenge that we have is we are producing. Yes, I started by saying, for Kenya to grow, Kenyans must consume what they produce. Currently, as I said last time, we are importing nearly 80% of what we consume. The more we import, the more this story of how do you then deal with the cost of living becomes an issue. So this is a rallying call. And we just finished the Changamuka Festival that we had at KICC with CAM, where it was a whole week where Made in Kenya was on display and exhibited, and the people came and you bought whatever you wanted as a way of saying, come interact with Kenyan-made products and have confidence that they are good. I bought coffee there, I bought tea, I bought shoes that are made in Karioko, and I'm putting on today. And so part of the issue is how do we build confidence among Kenyans so that we can consume more. There's no country
what's grown locally.
There's no country that has grown by consuming somebody else's products. And so this is part of an ongoing rally, and we have this thing called Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. The other issue that we are looking at is there's a bill now in Senate on the issue of prompt payment. One of the issues that has killed our factories is they supply goods either to a supermarket, sometimes to government, sometimes to somebody else, and payment doesn't come. Or doesn't come very quickly. And so you find factories that spend a lot of time chasing debt instead of producing. And so the issues we are doing a bill, and I think it has gone for the second reading in the Senate, on how do we pay. Why do we buy what we cannot afford? And so that we put some order in that space, that if you sell to a Kenyan supermarket, you saw what happened with Uchumi when it collapsed. It collapsed with nearly 7 billion worth of Kenyan made goods. That is a lot of destruction to the sector. So we really want to protect that, and there's something that's coming up in that space. In terms of export, we need to think beyond. We know we've been exporting tea, flowers, horticulture. These are low value, high volume things that really, I mean, sometimes I ask, if you have a phone that is 100,000 Kenya shillings for you to buy, how many tons of coffee do you export to buy one mobile? And so part of that space, and that's why the president was recently opening now we are assembling a local mobile to say, yes, we need to assemble more laptops, more vehicles, more motorbikes, because they are higher value. And we are exporting this to the region, to Sudan, to Uganda, to DRC. So there is potential for us. Pharmaceuticals. Last week, I think I was with the deputy president. He was opening a new pharmaceutical factory. That is where we have competitive advantage. One of the areas that, as we look at this strategy, that we realize, Kenya, if we are going to concentrate on agro-processing, we are not very competitive because of our geography, that we only 25% of Kenya is arable, and 90% of Uganda is arable. Nearly 95% of Tanzania is 1.5 times the size of Kenya.
And it's all arable.
And it's all arable. So if you're going to produce maize or tomatoes or onions, that's why some people ask, why is Uganda doing very well in animal feeds production? Because you can't compete with the cost of production for maize in Uganda. And then also, if you go to Uganda, you realize that maize is not food for people. Here, maize is, if there's no maize here, there's no food. You go to Uganda.
So in other words, maize is not their staple.
It's not their staple. And so you can sell it at any price. And so you find that if we are concentrating on agro-processing, then as a country, we will not be. We are more competitive in areas like automotive, mobile, iPads.
So manufacturing is our solution.
It's our solution, but we have to be very strategic.
As I hear you saying all these things,
yes,
I'm liking them, but then I've had them all before. And I'm sitting and wondering, even by the time the late Mwai Kibaki was rolling out Vision 2030, the economic pillar was one of the strong pillars, and the economic pillar was to be driven by industrialization. In the Jubilee administration 1 and 2, it was all about industrialization. And the conversations, even having round table discussions with the private sector, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, were taking place, and these things were being discussed. A Ministry of Trade was established to discuss these things. So if up to date we don't even have a policy that guides our industrialization, up to date we don't have a strategy or a piece of legislation that guides our industrialization, it just sounds like we just love talking about what can be, but we don't want to do it.
I don't want to go back into history, but I know that there is quite a lot of work that is going on. In terms of the difference between what I see now and in the past is, for example, if you look at our budget now, for the first time, we're using something called a value chain approach. And what does that mean? If you look at a value chain like cotton, we appreciate that so what we are doing now is, instead of the Ministry of Agriculture sitting and growing cotton on its own, we agree that there are some things that will be done by the Ministry of Agriculture, and they are given funding for it. The testing, developing new varieties, developing new seed, multiplying seed. And there are things that will be done by industry, ginning and the knitting and all that kind of stuff. And there's things that will be done by trade. So what we do is, now the planning is holistic, that we sit together, we look at the whole value chain, and we say, what does the Ministry of Agriculture need to do to revive cotton? And what will industry do so that we pick up from there? And what will trade do so that we export and import? So that we have a whole value chain. If it is leather, that's what we are doing. We are looking at it and saying, what is the problem with leather? We're saying, okay, we are not collecting our hides and skins. Why? Because the quality is bad. Why? Because we are using the wrong knife to slaughter the animals. So what does the Ministry of Livestock need to do?
But then, PS, you spent the last 1 year having those discussions. Why do we need another conference to have the same talk that you've been having for many years? Even the last 1 year.
Remember that 1 year, what we have been doing is interministerial, to saying this is what livestock needs to do, this is what agriculture needs to do. But now we have not subjected this to the owners of factories and industry. So this opportunity, if you look at the program today, there will be a PS for crops talking. There will be a PS saying, on cotton, This is what we are trying to do. And then it's being validated by the real owners to say, we don't think that works. We think you need to think differently. So really what we are doing, this is a very robust conversation. As government, we have very ambitious plans. We have this value chain approach, one government approach. And we are saying for the cotton value chain, we have had 1 year of experience. We've grown the cotton. I talked about the ginning. We know what needs to follow. And so the question is saying, this is our plan. But the really owners, thicker cloth mills, Rivertex, are saying, now, wait a minute. Did you just say that? Yes. What about this? And what about that? So really, and this is going to be an annual event. So the Kenya Industrialization Conference that starts today at the University of Nairobi is going to be an annual event that where we'll be saying, this is what you're doing. What do you think? So that we really have an honest conversation between government and the sector so that they're able to guide us, to tell us, yes, this is working, but this one you have to adjust, and so on. So for us, that is the kind of opportunity that we are providing. And
P.S., even as you say this, I think two things that are very important here, given the sentiment that Eric spoke about, where it's things that have been heard before, which you've given an explanation to, but two things always seem to be missing in terms of monitoring and evaluation of some of these things, number one, and then communication of these things to the country. Because here we are inviting the country into this conversation, but then it ends there. And in terms of the things that happen thereafter, 40,000 acres of cotton being harvested, I don't know, another 40,000 of sugar, whatever the case may be, that then people are not told about the milestones then are then reached. Secondly, in terms of where a certain project has reached, whatever challenges may have been encountered, whatever progress has been made, to actually monitor from point to point, for me, is a huge marker of success, so that we don't keep going round and round in circles, or what it would appear to be going round and round in circles, and that it will be clear what is a marked success from point to point, because it has to be deliberate. It has to be deliberate for every detail for them to see where success has been achieved. And I find that, unfortunately, for lots of government processes, those two issues are missed out on a lot. And so it would appear to the rest of the country as though nothing were being done, whereby a lot is actually happening. But because those two issues are not concentrated on, it appears nothing works. How can that then be involved in all of this?
Our friend, the good doctor, here is between a rock and a hard place. Because I listened to the sincerity in his voice, and it is clear he's someone who intends to see this work. But the rock and the hard place is here. We're not talking about things that we haven't done before in this country. Not really. Now, when we talk about lessons learned, what have we learned about how it is we made serious gain and then lost literally all of it, and then we are more or less having to restart again with bigger challenges than we had even previously, and saying this is how we are going to overcome it.
Thank you. Let me start with you, then I go back to what Ndu has asked. Yes, one of the areas that has been acknowledged, not just for coffee, but other sectors, is that this space of manufacturing faces quite a bit of competition from another group of private sector called importers. Sometimes they're called cartels. We just came back from Japan, and we saw a kilo of coffee, Kenyan coffee, going for 3,000 shillings. And we asked ourselves, why is the farmer in Katanga being paid 50 shillings a kilo? So, I mean, if you look at the processing that goes into coffee, the roasting and the grinding and a few other things, how do you account for that? So part of the challenge that we've had, and that is something that we need to own up, not just for coffee, that for most of this, even sugar, that you'll find that part of what is pushing our factories is people who want to import sugar. And that is where the game plan starts. And so part of what we've seen happening in the coffee and the tea area. The deputy president has taken charge, and you can see, as already I was reading last week, that some of those changes were starting to bear fruit. I do know also that in this finance bill, if you have listened to the industries very carefully, they have been crying that the government has imposed certain things. We have said that if there is something that we can produce within Kenya and you are importing, we'll put a tax on it. And I already mentioned that the last time I was here. We've put a tax on clinker, we've put a tax on steel, what's called wire rods and billets, so that we can create an advantage for local production. So part of how we got it wrong was that, and I hope that we can sustain that conversation. I know that we've had quite some engaging issues with CAM. They have issues with some of those decisions, but we are saying, okay, what is the alternative? We can't import what we can produce here and then pretend that we can revive those sectors. So part of what we are looking at, in fact, we are now looking at a longer list of 60 items that we think we can produce, that we need to tax so that we can grow local industry.
Yes, we are running out of time.
Yes.
So as we come to the end of this, is the conference open to the public?
Yes, the conference is open to the public. It's just not a conference. So there is plenary sessions. Today is the opening ceremony. We are having the Prime Cabinet Secretary opening today. And then we are also having, after that, we have breakaway rooms to discuss. So there will be a room for sugar, there will be a room for leather, there will be a room for people that want to discuss textiles. There are also exhibitions. So we have about 300 exhibitions, and so different technologies, different Kenyan-made products. So it's a very robust area, and we welcome all Kenyans, the University of Nairobi, and we invite all of you to join us today, tomorrow, and Wednesday.
Asante sana. Dr. Juma Muhwana, Principal Secretary for Industrialization, has been our guest. Thank you very much for joining us, PS. More conversations coming up in the next hour. It's 8 a.m.
Traffic on Vibes Radio.
Kama kawaida tunapeleka na mutara.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It wants tax. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin der, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called a liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, "No, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow." Thou
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Kismuga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Sasa baridi ni degree ngapi hapa?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys and walikuwa na uza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of Spice FM.
You play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice FM.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aya, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda.
I mean, I don't know.
So, what are they
How
saying?
are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So
See?
Your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of
The Situation Room.
Spice FM, Malindi.
All right, it's a few minutes after 8 o'clock and we're looking at traffic still building up in certain parts. So it looks like it'll get crazy later. Are you coming in on Limuru Road this morning? If you're coming in from Kitisuru, then out towards Muthaiga, on that Gigiri Road is heavy traffic. The thickest superhighway is not one to contend with today. If you haven't left earlier, then you know what you're stuck with. And it's bumper to bumper all the way through past then and onto Muranga Road. And it's coming in heavy from Githurai. We're also looking at Kiambu Road, ebbing and flowing with traffic, playing within a number of lanes here and there. Jogo Road is busy. Landis Road, absolute mess. And it's bumper to bumper from the junction of the City Stadium roundabout all the way through to the Kamkunji roundabout. It's going to take you on for some time. Gong Road is also really busy. And look at Langata Road has built up from that Magadi Road junction coming in from Karen. Heavy traffic, then it's joining with traffic that's coming on Magadi and then on towards Rilo Dingaway and then through towards Uhuru Highway. That is moving very slowly this morning. It's not doing too badly coming off of Cabanas going towards North Airport Road and then out towards Outer Ring, but the Eastern Bypass, some traffic in and outbound as well. So it's a busy Monday morning. Let's see what happens as we get through it. We'll talk on Spice FM KE on X as we keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
After 8, Kenya's biggest conversation gets into the third hour. We're still live on KTN Home, on Spice FM, on YouTube, on Facebook. In the next hour, we're going to talk about the ongoing heavy rains and whether we should be taking advantage of them. And because our next guest is not political, he's completely apolitical, let's have a conversation before we introduce him. And this is with regards to how the government is responding to the ongoing flood situation in the country, right? Mm-hmm. We looked at it earlier in the news. Big photo here in the Standard this morning is in Kisauni, Mombasa, and how people are basically just walking in the waters in the flooded areas. If you also look inside in the news, you'll find other photos of floods. Continued rains have wreaked havoc in Western and Nyanza regions with families displaced and people basically just sitting there. That's somebody's home.
Yeah.
And this is across the countries. There's a statement that was released by the Deputy President yesterday, and it talks about the number of counties that are facing El Nino actually rising from 19 to 33. More than half of the counties of the Republic of Kenya are in this dire situation of flooding. Now, this is something that, in other words, would be a national emergency, a national disaster. A call was made by the leadership of the northeastern parts of this country to declare this a national disaster so that efforts of the government can then be directed fully into this. Has that happened?
Not in my understanding doesn't lead me in that direction.
So it still hasn't happened?
No, it hasn't.
A supplementary budget was passed in Parliament last week. That was rearranging some funds from this and that and taking them into some areas.
Yes.
Was there a rearrangement of funds from this and that and taking them into disaster response and management
So
for flooding?
apparently it said that some shillings from that was towards this, and it was towards disaster management. In the shape and form that it was supposed to take on, we were not very clear then how that was supposed to happen. And the amounts that they were talking about was, a drop in the ocean in terms of what is clearly needed here with all of this. So it was interesting that what mentioned did take place, that because of what was being seen at the moment, some of that would go towards disaster management and not whether all of it was then going to go towards what we're seeing with the floods.
Just so that to remind you, every river that has a bank has broken it in this country right now.
Yeah.
We have a colleague who is stuck in Eldama Ravine area because the river that broke his bank. If you look at the road, it's a river. A rather fast-moving river. Mtito those who didn't know there was a river, there actually is one, broke its bank.
I just thought it was also a good time to then remind us that, last year at about this time, River Nzoye, I can't ever pronounce it.
Nzao
Bridge. So the bridge that, was supposed to have been completed many, many months ago was not. And that river is doing the business right about now as well.
Actually, that particular river, it was not months ago. That river should have been that bridge should have been completed years ago.
It should have been, they said it should have been completed years before, and then it was
after
going
the
to
tragedy,
be completed.
it would have been a few months.
January 2022, it was going to be done.
Not done.
The Nzio Bridge to date hasn't been done. Now, the issue that I'm raising here is, if we look at what we are seeing coming from government communication,
yes,
from the very top, the president is not talking about the ongoing floods and the disaster. The deputy president is not talking about it. He's releasing a statement. When you hear the deputy president talking, he's talking about 2032 and that he's very busy. He's not talking about 2032. This is not what he's talking about, 2032. He's very busy. That's what we are hearing. He releases a statement. He's the one who's coordinating response in this disaster. Uhuru Kenyatta may have very many questions to answer. And indeed, he should answer very many questions about his 9 years in office. But one of them that we cannot is what he did with COVID. He created an office and a committee, called it the National Emergency Response Committee. He gave it powers, he gave it mandate, and he gave it a leader. He said, the Minister for Health shall chair this committee. It shall have these other people. Under it, there's going to be a steering committee of principal secretaries and military officers and all. And this is what we expect from them. And on a daily basis, we're hearing from the National Emergency Response Committee on COVID on what they were doing. They were talking to counties. They were telling us what they're doing. It may not have been done, but at least we're hearing every day from government what the response is. And matters that required the president to speak, for example, shut down the country, open the country, the president spoke. When he is saying, I actually do not think I should be opening the country, but your people are saying, he came and said. That's the same thing we should be hearing from this government right now.
Because the threat
a proper concerted communication on a daily basis that tells the people of Mombasa, this is what we are doing with the coordination of your government. This is what we are doing in Mwingi, in Marsabit, in Wajir, all these counties.
Eric, it's everywhere.
Yes.
There is no place in this country that isn't suffering under this yoke of downpour which has led to floods. And the problems have not yet begun. They will subside. Then diseases will come. And then there'll be issues untold. There'll be repairs to be made. There'll be damage. There are all sorts of things. People will be displaced. Fortunately, children are not in school.
Yeah. But they will be going to school in a few weeks' time.
But we do not know, and the government is not taking lead on this matter, and they are not updating us and telling us what they're doing.
So people across the country, especially those that are affected, there's children on this photo who are standing outside their home and just watching as floods rise into their houses. The parents, they do not hear what their government is saying or doing about them. So they don't have the confidence that they have a government in place. And this is failure of government communication at the very top. Instead of telling us, I'd rather talks failed than share of housing project, instead of telling us ninaenda Saudi Arabia nitaongelesha mafuta, we should be hearing floods.
And these
floods,
because the floods are a present and immediate danger.
There are.
There.
Okay. Now we can bring in the guest. The politics is over. Engineer Leonard Ithau is District Governor of the Rotary International District 9212. He's a Rotarian. Engineer Ithau, good morning.
Good morning to you, Eric. Delighted to be here.
Karibu sana. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
It's a hot seat of the Situation Room. Engineer, you've talked many times about water harvesting in this country, and that's what we want to hear from you, in addition to what you, as the big boss of the Rotarians in the country and the region, are doing. But to welcome you to the conversation, CT has the day's proverb, and this week's proverbs are from
Namibia.
All right.
Yes, by the way, Namibia, not very different from us in terms of the composition of their parliament. They have an upper house and a lower house.
Which one is the upper house for them?
The upper house is called a national council.
Okay.
The lower house is called a national assembly, just like ours.
Oh, no, ours, the National Assembly is everything.
As I said, national assembly, like ours.
Okay.
Let's go with that one, shall we? A man who has once been tossed by a buffalo, when he sees a black ox, thinks it's another buffalo.
A man who has once been tossed by a buffalo, when he sees a black
ox,
thinks it's
another one.
Engineer.
Yes.
Have you been tossed by a black buffalo? Why are you laughing like you know all too well what City is talking about?
Len, what has a buffalo done to you?
Nothing. In fact, I spent my weekend in the Masai Mara with the Rotary youth, about 150 boys and girls between 18 and 30, coming together to learn about leadership, about networking, and, the issues of the youth. So I spent the weekend with them, and I saw lots of buffaloes and other animals, including the other big five.
But you did not get out of the vehicle?
No. Though I did get lost at night in the park without network.
Okay.
What do you think this proverb is telling us?
I look at things from a scientific basis. I am an engineer, I think close to 40 years next year. And when I look at what happens and is what's happening around us, if we shared the same picture for January next year, it will be a story of drought, lack of water. Today, you're seeing one. So something is happening in our world. But at the same time, what's happening is not beginning today. Our world, I believe, has always been on the move. It's always been changing. We've had ice ages. We have had other things that have come our way. We've had volcanic eruptions that killed the dinosaurs and got us here today. I think the challenge we have is that we are over 8 billion in this world. And so we can't migrate to parts of the world that have good weather, that have plenty of water. We're stuck where we are. And so when we have these changes, we can't move. So the only option available to us, in my view, is to respond to them, to anticipate them, to try and take advantage of them, so that we use these things that nature throws on us to advantage, to advance humanity, rather than having death and despair and displacement, as we're seeing now. So it is something that will not change in the immediacy, so it's important that we start having strategies and plans to respond to it.
It's a good one.
When
it's been given an engineering perspective.
Very gentle.
The proverb has been engineered.
Yes, but very profound. Because even as he says it, then you may not know this, but this matter of water is something we talk about all the time. Long before this government came into being, When this government prophetically spoke of building 100 dams, we said, this is really good. But you don't really have to build these monoliths that we build, this, what you know as dams. There are very many water catchment facilities that you can actually build that are cost effective. And we threw in even the dredging of rivers. We said, when you're told that it's about to rain, there's something you can do to just increase the capacity of the river to contain whatever comes in there. And we've spoken about it over and over and over. So when we see this rain, we then ask the question, okay, these things that the government had said they were going to do, how much of it have they actually done? Because if they had done even a fraction, yes, we'd be talking of the rain, we're talking about a problem, but we'd be saying, but on the other hand, because we built these facilities, when the rain subsides, the people of this area will have sufficient resources of water to last them a certain period, something which they didn't have before. But the question we're asking is that really a reality that we're going to see when this rain subsides? That's the question we're asking. And here you are telling us about some of the things that from an engineering perspective one can do, because even if it stops raining, it'll rain again.
Yes, for sure.
Yes. So now, let's take the view that we've become clever and we've learned from our mistakes. So when we then learn these things that you speak of, I saw that delightful drawing of a pond. You call it a pond. The problem is when I think of a pond. Okay.
It's like a small thing.
Yeah, with
frogs and tadpoles.
That's the thing. And some vegetation growing on it. Very picturesque, but I think that's not what you had in mind. What did you have in mind?
No. The challenges or situations we have today are multi-layered. We talk about water to every household. That really refers to domestic water, which is a smaller volume of water. But because of the moving goalpost as when rain will come or not, we now require additional for irrigation, because you can't anticipate when the rains will come for your vegetables and grains, which was normally coming in a structured way. So now you need to store more and more and more in water, and it becomes uneconomical to use tanks and other means of storage. So effectively, you're trying to store a bit of the river or the bit of the waterway for your personal consumption in the coming months.
How does that exactly happen? Because here we are, and it's very easy for us to say, yes, go ahead and store the water. There's pools of water around the country at the moment. People are literally swimming in it. But if we look at it, what can a government do today? What can actually be done today with what we have that is clearly going to waste? And we know that these patterns are cyclical in nature, that they follow one another, that we will get into a period of extremely dry, and it will be followed by this deluge that we see. It is going to happen. So what can be done practically that will then put this water that seems to be going to waste in storage, as opposed to just talking about it?
Yes, I believe in doing a multi-layer response to that. There's at the macro level where we need to have the dams or everything like that to store the huge volume, because the volumes we have are huge that can't be stored in small domestic ponds. So we have that at a higher level. We need to have drainage channels and catchment areas to try and divert it away from where citizens are living and so on. So that is at a macro level. But essentially, the challenge we have is at a domestic level. And again there, I suggest a multi-pronged approach, not just having perhaps a borehole, a community borehole that serves everybody. Here we're talking this morning about excess water. What can we do it, and how can we channel it as an individual, family? The first and the one I would recommend the most for domestic consumption is really to have gutters and water storage tanks. That is the essential for the home, to have clean water that is suitable for domestic use, and you have a storage facility big enough for this. I can give a practical example. coming back to my role as district governor, one of our clubs, the Rotary Club of Nakuru, has carried out such a program for 8,000 homes in Nakuru County by providing the gutters and 10,000-litre tanks. This has,
per household?
Yes, per household. This has transformed the communities. The time that the women have free to do economic activities, etc. Something as small as that making such a big difference. Then to extend it beyond the household, then the initiatives around having a water storage pond, because the water stored there is not clean, that be used to store water for the purposes of irrigation during the periods when there's no rain. A typical pond would cost in the region of 250,000 to do. So it can be considered either in a family or a community approach towards that to achieve water sustainability during dry periods. But there's another approach which perhaps has not been given a lot of mention. I don't know if you've heard of the sand dams. Sand dams are really a cost-effective way of providing water for long periods of time, because the water is stored within the sand behind the dam. So there's less evaporation. The water quality is sustained because you don't have cows and other things defecating and doing other things in the water. And the community are able to abstract the water throughout the period, both for home use and for irrigation. This is useful in the really dry and arid areas, Makueni, Kitui, and other areas of, in fact, the whole district which I serve. So I've seen examples in Mwingi of these sand dams that a single dam costing about 1,000. So when we have this excessive rain like we have now, it fills the sand, and then we go through the dry period, and it's really providing an opportunity for the families to continue having access to water without traveling great distances, to be able to carry out irrigation and other small economic activities.
Excuse me.